Hey everybody, this video is going to cover factoring when you have an a value that's a leading coefficient that's greater than 1 and you cannot pull out a greatest common factor. So previously we discussed how to do this pulling out a greatest common factor. That would be a number you could divide all of your coefficients and your constant by. But here, if we look at our first one, 2, -9, and -5 don't have a number you can evenly divide into. So you're going to have to use the factor square in a little bit of a different way to solve this. So let's go ahead and set up our square. We're going to put the 2x squared in our upper right-hand corner. It adds up to our middle value of -9x, and our constant goes in the bottom corner. And then we can go ahead and work this out. So to get 2x squared, the only way to do that is to multiply 2x times 1x. I'm going to write this as 2x times x, because 1x and x are the same thing. Now, to get -5, we have two different options. You can either multiply 1 times -5 or -1 times 5. So we have to decide where those numbers are going to go and which one is going to be negative for them to add up to -9. So I know immediately that 2, if I multiply it by 5, it's going to give me 10, right? So I'm thinking my 5 should probably go up here and my 1 should probably go down here. Now I have to decide which one I'm going to make negative. So remember, I want this to add up to -9. So I want the bigger number that I have in these squares to be negative. So I'm going to put the negative on my 5 because the 2x times -5 is going to give me -10x. And then the 1 times x is going to give me a positive 1x. And when I do 1x plus -10x, it will add up to that -9x I'm looking for. Then I can write out my answer. It'll be 2x plus 1, and it's plus 1 because we used a positive 1. And you're welcome to write a plus here if you want, if that helps, times x minus 5, which is up top, x minus 5. So the factor of 2x squared minus 9x minus 5 is 2x plus 1 times x minus 5. All right, let's try that with a different problem. This one also has a leading coefficient of 2. So we already know the only way to get 2x squared is to do 2x times x. Now you'll notice I put 2x here and x here on my first problem. It really doesn't matter where you put them. My preference is to put the 2x on the side, but if you swap them, it's okay. It just depends on what you're multiplying by to get those two center numbers, right? So we're going to have 2x squared here. It adds up to -11x and multiplies to 12. So since this adds up to a negative value, right, adds up to -11x and multiplies to a positive value, my factors of 12 have to both be negative. And again, they're both negative because we're trying to get them to add up to that -11x and multiply to a positive number. And those negatives will cancel out when we multiply to the positive number of 12. Now, keep in mind, one of the factors that are listed here, before we add them together, it is going to get multiplied by 2 so we can add it up to -11x. So I'm thinking if I use 1 and 12, well, that number is either going to be too big or too small to add up to -11. If I use 2 and 6, I'm a little bit closer, but I think 3 and 4 are going to work. So I'm going to try it. So I am going to go ahead and put the 3 down here and the 4 up here. And remember, both of them are going to have to be negative. So here I will get -8x, and here I'll get -3x. And it adds up to -11x. Now, if you cannot see that on your own, I can see it because I've done this for a while, but if you don't immediately know the 3 and the 4 are going to work, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to just try the numbers. And what I mean by that is I want you to start with your list of factors, and I want you to go ahead and just start plugging them in to these two spots and see if they work, right? So try -1 and -12. Well, I'd get -2x and -12x. That obviously doesn't add up to -11x. So I'm going to try to switch them. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to get rid of them. So -12, -1. I'll get, this is going to be -24x. And obviously this isn't going to work. So I know 1 and 12 are not going to be my factors. And then you would just continue down the list until one of them works. You only need to do that if you don't know which one's going to work. I already know 3 and 4 are going to work, so I'm going to put those back. And if you already know they're going to work, because you'll get negative 8x and negative 3x, you are good to go. Our answer here is going to be this side, which is 2x minus 3 times the top, x minus 4. That is the factor of our original problem, which is 2x squared minus 11x plus 12. All right, let's do our last one. This one's going to be a little bit different because we have a leading coefficient of 15x squared. The unique thing about this one is instead of our constant, which is our last number, being the number that has multiple factors, our leading coefficient has multiple factors in this case. So I'm going to write in my 15x squared, adds up to a negative 11x, and then multiplies to a positive 2. So I'm going to write out my factors of 15x squared and positive 2, okay? 15x squared I can get by doing 1x and 15x and 3x and 5x. Both of those different factors are going to multiply to my 15x squared. To get 2, I'm going to do 1 and 2. And 2 and 1 is the same thing, right? But remember, we want it to add up to a negative number. So to multiply to a positive and add up to a negative, they both have to be negative. So here we are. We have 2 different pairs of factors for 15x squared, but only 1 for my positive 2. So I know I have to use the negative 1, negative 2 to get to my positive 2. So that kind of narrows it down for me a little bit. Then if I'm not sure, I can try my 2 different factors in each place to see what they add up to. I can see what is going to work here. So I'll show you. We can use the 5x and the 3x here. And this is what'll be what happens. You have 5x times negative 1, which is going to give you negative 5x, and then 3x times negative 2, which will give you negative 6x, and negative 5x and negative 6x add up to negative 11x. Again, if you are not sure what to do, just try these 2 in each place. If it doesn't add up to the number you want, cross them off. Try these 2 in each place and it will work out. So I'm going to write down my answer, which is going to be 5x minus 2. I got that from this side here, times 3x minus 1. All right, that's going to be all for factoring trinomials.